So welcome back to analogy number 7 in this series on understanding Asperger's. Today's analogy comes from a short story by H.G. Wells called Country of the Blind. So the analogy is of being the only sighted person in a country where everyone else is blind. So at first glance, you kind of imagine that being able to see would be an advantage. Everyone else is blind and you're able to see. Surely that's an advantage. However, society is built for the people that can't see, which means half the time there's no light. Because what do you need light for when you're blind? So inside, there are no candles, there's no light, there's not the environment that I need to use this superpower, which means that when I'm outside in the daylight, great, I can do things that no one else could dream of doing. But when I get inside, where there is no windows and no light, all of a sudden I am disadvantaged because the way I naturally do things outside because of my superpower, I can't do inside. And no one else is really going to understand why I'm suddenly so clumsy. Why am I suddenly tripping over things? Why are you tripping over that? You can't see it. They can't see it either, but they know where it is. And because they're blind their whole life, they get used to the fact. And that means that there's almost this unspoken communication because they see the world, or in this case, don't see the world, experience the world in a completely different way than I experience the world. So I'd look out and I would see the thing on the ground, and that's how I know not to trip over it. Whereas the others they all notice the same thing and they're all in sync with each other because they don't see this extra thing that I see. So one of the reasons I really love that analogy is because it shows how having a superpower can actually be a disability in society. That's why we have this idea of this societal model of disability, where we build the society structure in a way that requires certain abilities in certain areas. And if you happen to not have that particular one at that particular time, then all of a sudden you've got a disability. So, and it doesn't matter what other things you can do extra, it's all about the minimum requirement at the time. So that's today's Asperger analogy borrowed from H.G. Wells' Country of the Blind, of being the only sighted person in a society where nobody else can see. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and stay tuned next week for our last video in this series on understanding Asperger's. Thanks, bye.